Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to episode 8 of Kipper the Dog Home Media Reviews. After last week's Cuddly Critters installment, we have now moved on from animals to amazing discoveries. We are now focusing on weird phenomenon that Kipper and his friends are discovering in their little world. So, let's jump right into the history section of amazing discoveries. So Amazing Discoveries first hit VHS on June 4th, 2002. Just like the last few weeks, I did own Amazing Discoveries on VHS, and I remember watching it quite frequently. These episodes on here were some of my favorites. I mentioned last week how the Purple Park Monster was one of my favorite episodes of this show, but I also particularly enjoyed the episode where Kipper builds the flying machine. This Amazing Discoveries was also reprinted in 2003, now with a white tape as opposed to a black one. This one actually kind of matches the branding, as its text is in purple, and since there's a purple park monster right there on the front cover of this release, that makes sense. And finally, in 2005, we got the DVD release of Amazing Discoveries. Unlike last week with Cuddly Critters, I don't see any other variants of this DVD that had been reprinted. Instead of having a reflective gray disc, however, Amazing Discoveries has its poster art squished up on its disc, which is kind of weird because Cuddly Critters doesn't have that disc, at least not from what I've seen. I posed the question last week of what the hell happened with Cuddly Critters' DVD release, and as far as I can tell, since recording that episode, I've been able to find a squished up version of Cuddly Critters' disc available on the secondary market. With that all being said, though, that wraps up your history section. Let's move right along to the close-up. Alrighty, everyone, here's your close-up look at Amazing Discoveries. We start off here with the DVD logo at the top, Kipper logo, 90 minutes of fun. Again, more false advertising like we talked about last week with Cuddly Critters. Amazing Discoveries, kind of at a weird angle there, but there's Kipper and Arnold as the Purple Park Monster. We have that same tagline there, a refreshing pace for today's busy kids. I like this salmon pinkish color here. I don't know why. It's just so interesting. I don't see this color a lot. The spine got that same Kipper clip art from all of the other DVD releases that we've looked at. Kipper logo, Amazing Discoveries, hit logo, DVD logo, product number, and stereo. The back features your UPC barcode there. The Kipper logo, Amazing Discoveries logo, picture of Tiger holding up a giant photo of what I assume is the Purple Park Monster, or what they think it is. We've got the return of blurbs for each of the individual episodes, as opposed to just one giant blurb talking about them. And then down here we've got Kipper and the robot that he meets in this release. Yes, Kipper meets a robot from outer space. I'm not kidding you. And then over here we've got Hit Extras. We have 3 shows represented here. Not as much as last week, but still a good amount. And down here, running time approximately 90 minutes, including your bonus features. So again, pretty much false advertising there on the front, but it is fun, I suppose, if you enjoy all the shows that are included here. You open this up, and there is your disc. It's a squished up version of the poster art. So that wraps up your close-up. Let's move right along to the menu tour. Alrighty, everyone. Here's your menu tour for Amazing Discoveries. Again, we have pretty much the poster art as the background for the menu, but this time it's animated. Look at Kipper's arms and his ears, and Arnold's head moved there. There it goes again. He's going to put the little monster head on. We have play, video, select, a story, language selection, trailers, and hit extras. And look, there's a little paint splatter from one of the episodes on here. I can't remember which one. It might be the Purple Park Monster, I think, whenever Kipper is painting. And the return of the good episode selection. Unlike with last week with Cuddly Critters, we have the Purple Park Monster, the robot, the dinosaur, Jake's friend, Space Invaders, the flying machine, and the ball. You can also play all of your stories from this menu. I love the little paint splatter that throws up on the screen there whenever you move from menu to menu. That's kind of cool. And for your language options, we have English and Spanish. And there's Kipper interacting with his friend the robot. Now here's your trailers tab. We have options for Kipper, we have options for Bob, Barney, Thomas, the Wiggles, Angelina Ballerina, Fraggle Rock, and Todd World. All of Hit's mainstay franchises at this point. Ooh, and for the Thomas and Friends tab, we have trailers for songs from The Station and Thomas's Sort Celebration. For Kipper, we have trailers for Puppy Love, Tiger Tales, and Pools, Parks, and Picnics, and Kipper Helps Out. For Bob the Builder, we have trailers for Help Is on the Way and Yes We Can. And then I don't really know these other franchises. I didn't really watch Fraggle Rock when I was a kid. I mentioned this prior, but I really only watched Elmo's World from Jim Henson, never like The Muppets or Sesame Street. So I was always kind of interested in Todd World, but I never really had a chance to watch it when I was younger. Okay, speaking of Todd World, here we are in the Hit Extras tab, and here's a Todd World story that I've never seen. It's Okay to Lose Your Mittens. This one was never included on any Thomas release that I owned, or Bob the Builder release that had hit extras on it, so I never saw this one when I was a kid. We also have a bonus episode of The Wiggles, Murray's Shirt. I think so far, the champion of the Hit Extras tab is definitely Cuddly Critters. That one had 4 bonus episodes on it, and one of them was Bob the Builder. That one's definitely the champion of the Hit Extras tab so far in this series. But that wraps up your menu tour for amazing discoveries. Let's go ahead and head on back and answer the 5 main questions as always. Alright, so we're back from the close-up, and now it's time to answer the 5 main questions as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? Unfortunately, once again, this product is not available in retail stores, or really used DVD or Blu-ray shops, or pawn shops, or anywhere like that, so you can really only find it online, as with most of Kipper's library. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? Unfortunately not. Number 3, should you pick this product up? A very nostalgic trailer for me starts off the DVD release of Amazing Discoveries. The trailers for Pools, Parks, and Picnics and Tiger Tales, and this same trailer opened up the VHS tape, and I remembered it instantly. It brought me back to when I was a child watching this tape, instantly hearing that female voice saying, "Meet Kipper. Kipper the dog. What shall I do today?" The trailer's pretty simplistic, but it makes me instantly transport back to my childhood. I love it. We start off with the Purple Park Monster. Appropriate, since the Purple Park Monster itself is spoiled on the front cover of this release. First appearance of this giant grassy field that I'm not sure where it is. I think it's in one of the parks that the characters frequent. More impressive background work, though. These episodes just keep getting better with their backgrounds. Crazy, though, that the park managers let the grass grow that tall. Seems like Tick Central to me. After Tiger fails at hunting Kipper, and the 2 friends see that there's another line of grass that's been completely mowed down by said Purple Park Monster, they choose to go out and find it. Playing that game in the grass, though, isn't the best idea, since Kipper literally just follows Tiger's trail of mowed down grass. Seems like you should probably play that game somewhere else. Tiger's a cheat, though, speeding up his counting like that. I do love that Kipper doesn't really care, though, about Tiger's game and is just sitting by a tree eating his sandwich. Hi. What? Kipper, if you're there, then what have I been following? A rabbit? Too big for a rabbit. If you didn't see the front cover, or the disc artwork of Amazing Discoveries, the Purple Park Monster mystery, in quotations, is spoiled pretty quickly because you see Arnold just stop walking and take off his giant head. Arnold, once again, causing absolute chaos. Run, pig, run! There's a monster in the park! I know. You know? That's why I suggested we catch it. But I thought it was a game. Oh no, it's not a game. Pig's getting his revenge for all of the times he's been screwed over throughout this show up until now. The monster theme music was really good, added some menace to this silly little episode. We were playing a trick on you, weren't we, Arnold? The robot. Opening shot is a meteor with an antenna sticking out of it. It's that kind of Kipper episode. A robot launched from the meteor lands in the pond in the park as Kipper is feeding all the ducks. Not even going to question it at this point. Aliens do exist in this universe. We've seen the bleepers in an earlier episode, and Tiger and Kipper went to an alien planet and fought a giant dragon. So, again, I'm not questioning it here. So Kipper, being the good-natured fellow that he is, attempts to make friends with this robot. The robot's design was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. The eye was almost human, but yet the rest was very mechanical. Very intriguing. Did you want to come in the buggy? Oh, no. You wanted to walk. Oh, I hope Kipper hasn't gone home. Does that mean that Pig knows how to drive? Is that what he was talking about? A buggy? I know that people call carts that, like shopping carts, that in the UK. Does he mean he was going to push Arnold in a shopping cart? Or does that mean that Pig knows how to drive? Are there cars in this universe? And what is the robot doing with the stuff that he swallows? Is it a mouth or like just a way to store physical items inside of the robot? Makes me think that that robot isn't entirely mechanical. Cybernetic, maybe. The robot decides to literally rob Kipper by stealing Hippo and then returns into space. I really felt for Kipper, though. He loved Hippo. And even shed a tear for him. That was sad. Not as sad now, but it was really sad as a kid. It was like, no, he just stole Hippo. It was very satisfying to see Hippo come back, though. Kipper was so happy to see him come back. I guess the robot was a cloning device, perhaps, because it just starts raining hippos and chocolate cookies out of nowhere. Strange episode, but fun at least. The Dinosaur. This episode got me interested in hand painting. I remember specifically because I had a group of yellow handprints on my childhood wall. My parents were painting my bedroom, and I was like, hey, I want to get involved in this. Let's put some handprints up there. And I guess my parents thought it was an interesting creative choice because I had yellow handprints on my wall up until we moved out of my house. Really fun memory there. I wish I had pictures of it, but I don't think I have any. Never wanted to do feet painting, though. The thought never really crossed my mind. We never had mud puddles that big around me when I was growing up. Or maybe we did, and my mom just kept me and my brother away from them all the time, so we never saw them. It looks like a paw print. So what do you think made it? Something bigger than us. Something enormous. Perhaps a dinosaur. Tiger agrees with me and the title of the episode. That settles it. It's a dinosaur. Good sound work with the dinosaur in the woods scene, though. Sounded sufficiently scary. Hello, Arnold. We've just seen a dinosaur. No protection at all, no filter, no nothing. Just let Arnold know that there's a ferocious dinosaur out there that wants to eat him. Just tell him straight up. Just say, hello, Arnold. We've seen a dinosaur. I've never heard bowling pins described, though, as Skittles. Is that a thing over in the United Kingdom? Do they call bowling Skittles like that? Or is that like a specific version of bowling that you can take home and play outside with? First thing I think of when I hear Skittles is the popular candy, like I think everybody else thinks of. The dinosaur ends up being an excavator, which I don't think we ever see who's driving it. Does that mean that Kipper, Tiger, Pig, and Arnold were all wandering through an active construction zone? Doesn't seem very safe to me. Jake's friend. Jake's got one of those imaginary friends that we all had growing up. Do you remember what you named your imaginary friend? Because I sure as hell don't. Kipper. I'd like you to meet Wilbur. I can't see anyone there, Jake. Of course you can't see him. Wilbur's invisible. What an interesting name for an imaginary friend. I don't know, Wilbur just sounds weird. Or no, excuse me, an invisible friend, because Wilbur's invisible. Kipper talking about that lemonade made me really want some. Fortunately, I'm all out of lemonade. Only thing I have is a can of Orange Crush. Good stuff, and just as fizzy as that lemonade. Although, did you guys ever have fizzy lemonade? He made it sound wonderful. I'd like to try it. I know sparkling ice, that technically has like a fizzy lemonade, but it's more of like a sparkling water type thing, so it's not really lemonade, it's just lemonade flavored water. Am I thinking too much about this? Probably. I admire Jake's commitment to this whole charade, but Kipper's non-reactions to everything just made this episode hilarious. Doesn't Wilbur like his ice cream soda, Jake? He says he can't eat it. Well, if he doesn't want it, I'll have it. Tiger pouncing there didn't even give Wilbur a chance to answer. And holy crap, Wilbur turns out to be real? Or maybe there's a ghost haunting Tiger's house? All I know is something drank that soda and something asked for chocolate sauce. The ball. Episode starts with a conversation I've had way too many times with my friends. So what do you feel like doing? I don't know. Especially with Tiger still being in bed. I definitely have answered phone calls at noon while still being comfy under my sheets. And having to act like I've been awake for a while. This is a very simple episode besides the fact that the ball is literally alive and knocks on Kipper's door, even though it doesn't have any hands. We're following VeggieTales logic now. Sometimes they have invisible hands, other times they don't. Don't be silly, Kipper. A ball can't be alive. Pig, do you know what kind of universe that you live in? Aliens, magic lamps, and talking George Takei frogs exist. Don't even act like a ball being sentient isn't a possibility. I love that there's payoff for the joke about Tiger still being on the phone at the end of the episode. Kipper just remembers he left Tiger on the phone. And then, of course, Tiger's pissed, but then he's like, hang on, Kipper, there's someone at the door. And the ball is at Tiger's house now. Simplistic episode. My second favorite episode on this release. The flying machine. There's so much stuff. Where did it all come from? I ask myself that question every time I go into my basement. It's just a crap show down there. Surrounded by stuff I haven't touched in years, but I can't bring myself to part with it. Because just like Tiger says, you never know when you might need it. Building a flying machine isn't the first thing that I'd think about doing with a whole bunch of junk just piled up around my house. But good effort, guys. I think the real reason I like this episode so much is because all 5 cast members appear and they all have roles in this episode. All 5 cast members have appeared in past episodes, but not everyone has a speaking role and they're just kind of in the background. Mostly Jake is just kind of in the background of some of those scenes, but here, everybody has a speaking role, everybody has a reason for being there. Poor Arnold, though. He can bring down world governments with a flick of his wrist, but he can't blow up a balloon. Let me do it, Arnold. Jake's pedaling is definitely not equivalent to the amount of force that propeller is generating. There's no way that Jake pedaling that slow was making that propeller spin that fast. The best joke in this whole episode, though, is Pig saying, "It's lifting! It's lifting!" No, false alarm, it isn't. Just the deadpan delivery. No, false alarm, it's not. It's like something that I would write. Did you see it got off the ground just before it crashed? It got off the ground! Not only is that a fantastic line reading and a fantastic joke, but it's also what the developers of early Windows 10 kept saying. Hey, look, the operating system got off of the ground just before it crashed with all the bloatware. It got off the ground! I like Windows 10 now, but come on, early on, that operating system sucked. Finally, we end off with Space Invaders. Another alien-centric episode, but this time the extraterrestrials come in this tiny little plate-style ship. Kipper thinks it's a toy and immediately thinks Pig and Arnold should get in on the action. Why wouldn't you? They're some of the best characters in the show. Arnold, being the curious world dominator that he will become, decides to investigate this flying saucer further and actually becomes friends with it. Or I should say he becomes friends with the alien inside, because I don't think this flying saucer itself is an alien. I think an alien is inside of it. We see a couple of eyes open through the little viewport in the front, but I don't think the saucer itself is the alien. It's adorable at the end when the ship pats him on the head and is like E.T. basically telling him to be good, and then it flies out the window. But prior to that, we're treated with a very nice montage of Arnold and all of his toys being put inside of these bubbles and floating around the room. Because why not? The title Space Invaders makes this sound like it's way worse than it actually is in the episode. They're not really invading. They're just kind of here. They're just kind of hanging out, like, hey, we're here. We're not here to invade or anything. We're just here. We're curious. Like I said earlier with the robot, I'm not going to question this show anymore. Aliens exist. Talking frogs exist. Magic lamps exist. All right. Fairy tale world. Let's jump into it. Amazing Discoveries is another release that follows its premise very well. It's got some fun episodes about some crazy stuff, but it's extremely whimsical, just like the rest of the show. One of my favorites from childhood, and still one of my favorites today. More hit extras only add to the value of this release. Sure, there's only 2 episodes from Todd World and the Wiggles, but hey, the fact that there's any here says a lot. Was it even a question? Yeah, I recommend Amazing Discoveries. Definitely check this one out. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? Same answers as number 1. And number 5, what price should you pay? Just like Cuddly Critters last week, there isn't a lot of fluctuation between the VHS and the DVD variants of this. I'd say either $5 to $10 for either of them, honestly. Maybe a little more for the DVD since it's in slightly higher quality. Maybe go about $15 for that, but I wouldn't go any more than that for either of them. Alright, well, that wraps up your HMR on Amazing Discoveries. This one, I'd say, is probably in tier 1 of the Kipper releases that I watched the most as a kid. I mentioned last week my tier list with some of these releases, and I would put this one squarely in tier 1, one that I watched quite often as a kid. And one that I still like now. Heck, I probably will go back and rewatch it again after I finish recording this episode, because I love all these episodes. They're crazy, but whimsical. And I think that this show strikes that balance perfectly, especially in this release. So what are we talking about next week, folks? Well, another tonal shift. We went from animals to weird inventions, and now we're moving on to this. Well, he yelled out from the back row, "Look here, preacher man, we all know you're new here, but you need to understand. It don't really scare us when you yell and shake your fist. You see, we already know that hell exists. Yeah, there ain't no end to the stories we could tell. No, a man don't have to die to let it snow." Kind of a depressing country song there. Thanks, Brad Paisley. But we're talking about Let It Snow next week. This one is actually Christmas themed. I remember that because I only watched this VHS around the time of Christmas. And it uses the exact same poster art as Snowy Day and other stories. So that's going to be fun to look at. I will see you all then. Thank you all so very much for watching. And as always, good night, everybody.